Good morning, and thanks so much for tuning into the Trade Setup. I'm Nilay Shah, and let's take stock of the global news flow first before we move on to anything else. Remember, markets were a bit soft, but this is, of course, what the global news flow is for the morning. Federal Reserve officials stressed that more rate hikes are in the offing. And I think, therefore, tomorrow's address from Jerome Powell would become extremely important. So I think that is something that everybody should be or would be watching out for. Brent crude has pared losses on OPEC cut rumors. So that is the other interesting piece. Apple faced a shortfall of 6 million iPhone Pros after the China turmoil. And that is huge, right? Because, I mean, from an Apple perspective, which is why I think the stock slid about 2.5% in trade yesterday and dragged the indices along with it. In other bad news, crypto lender BlockFi files for bankruptcy. And, not as much from an India perspective, but from a global perspective, a bunch of these cryptocurrency exchanges have gone kaput. Crypto prices have come off. The wealth destruction due to the downtick in cryptos is large, and that might impact, how do I say, for lack of a better word, liquidity. So much of liquidity would have gotten sucked into the crypto ecosystem. People might have bought Bitcoin at much higher prices or some of the other cryptos at much higher prices, and they're looking at losses. Doubt there's some of them are able to book them either. Doubt some of the money will come back. It certainly has an issue. Anyways, US markets were down yesterday, as I said, dragged by Apple. And the futures might be marginally in the green, but I doubt that there'll be too much of a deviation from what the prices are currently until Jerome Powell's address is out of the way. So that is part one. The other cues are okay. The 10-year yields were at 3.7 or 3.68, 3.68. So no big changes there. The dollar index, in fact, came off against most major currencies, 106.56. CBOE VIX, yes, up 8%, but still at 22.21, right? So hardly any moves there. Even India VIX has not really gained too much. The SGX Nifty should come up on your screen, was down yesterday as well, remember, and we recouped all of the losses. In fact, not down as much today. Would be interesting to see how India does in the session today. These days, the SGX Nifty is not proving to be a good indicator of what the index stocks would do during the course of the day. At some point of time, people might just stop looking at this. A lot of people actually I know who don't look at the SGX Nifty at all. They don't care about what the SGX Nifty is indicating. But from a start perspective, it's important to highlight because it could be a barometer of what's happening in the rest of the Asian stocks for sure. Now, what's the trade setup? The Nifty ended at new highs yesterday. So the close is at a new record close. And of course, we hit record highs yesterday. And a positive close for the 5th consecutive day for the Indian markets. While all that's happening around the world, Indian markets continue to rise and shine. The FI flows are positive. In fact, month to date, FIs have bought about 12,300 crores in cash and added over 53K net long contracts in index futures. Just shows which way the tilt is currently on the FI side. The markets have done really well. I mean, in that period, the last 1 month, I think about 3% gains. RIL and OMCs see very strong traction for, of course, different reasons completely. Oil prices correction was the reason why OMCs did well. RIL, a bunch of rumors floating around. I don't want to say them because they're unsubstantiated, but remember, there's a lot more to RIL than what's happening to oil. But because oil prices have pared some of those losses, we might well see a flattish kind of a move and not too much of a follow-up from OMCs today. Let's wait and watch. Stocks to watch. There isn't a very long laundry list today, but I'll bring you some, which will probably have some impact. So watch out for BSE. Finally, they have a CEO. At least they've gotten the SEBI nod to appoint Sundararaman Ramamurthy as the MD CEO. Now, it'll be interesting to see what, I mean, they don't necessarily have the, how do I say, they don't necessarily have the market share in any fashion whatsoever, but it'll be interesting to see what this one does. So because of this announcement, so do watch out for PSC. NDTV, the promoter group, RRPR Holding has issued equity shares constituting about 99.5% of its equity share capital to the Adani Group owned Vishwa Pradhan Commercial. So that's the end of any kind of speculation around whether or not this battle will continue. Standard disclosure, of course, Adani Group owns Quintillion Business Media, which, or rather, is in the process of acquiring 14% stake in Quintillion Business Media, which owns BQ Prime as well. Just a standard disclosure, no bearing on NDTV per se, just bringing it out. AMI Organics. Yesterday there was this announcement that the company signed a multi-year, multi-ton, multi-million euro definitive agreement with Fermoin. Now, as a result of that, or otherwise, you saw some fair degree of, how do I say, buying or selling that happened in AMI Organics. So Norges Bank and ValueQuest Investment Advisors bought shares about 3% and 0.49% respectively. Small cap world funds sold about 12.72 lakh shares at about 920 a piece. So this could be interesting. Remember, the stock was up and active in trade yesterday as well. This seems to be a very good deal for them, and it'll be interesting. The thing is, viewers, you're seeing a lot of global leading companies in some fashion sign agreements with Indian firms in the specialty chemical space. The point that I want to make is it's not necessary that that would mean that the stocks will necessarily do well. Now, AMI Organics may be a completely different case in point, may continue to do well after yesterday's move as well. But remember, we saw a couple of companies in the fragrance chemical space sign agreements with global leaders. I think now, excuse me, I'm not quite remembering the names, but there are two firms in India which have signed two large agreements with two global fragrance companies. Givaudan was one of the companies on the global side in which these agreements were signed, and the stocks have come off quite rapidly from those levels. So be mindful of that. Do your own study before you go out and buy into AMI Organics. But ValueQuest Investment Advisors, Ravi Dharamshi is a very smart pharma specialty chemical name. They would have done their studies very well. So it merits a look into AMI Organics and what this deal could mean for them. So do watch out for that. Nomura has come out with a very interesting note on autos, and I thought I should bring it to you. So they say that the dealer survey that they have done suggests weak demand in the entry car segment. The waiting periods have come down for SUVs as well. They estimate inventory addition of about 45,000 to 50,000 thousand cars in November. And they believe that the passenger vehicle OEMs may have to reduce production or raise discounts in order to clear the inventory. They go out to say, this is a tall statement, they go out to say that they expect industry growth to slow down substantially from 25% in FY23 to 6% in FY24. Now, that's a tall statement. And if indeed this is true, then the market discounts the future. The market may start thinking about whether or not to buy into the optimism that is there around some of the auto names. By the way, you could argue that some of it the market is already seeing. Just look at the price movement that is there in Maruti versus the Nifty in the last 1 month, arguably versus Tata Motors. But Tata Motors, remember, had gotten beaten down well before that, and therefore there's a bit of a recouping there in Tata Motors. It's a global stock now, so to say, right, with JLR. But look at Maruti versus the Nifty, the last 1 month, despite the fact that we saw a report from UBS which spoke about how diesel cars are going to find it tougher from April because of prices, or Suzuki's own emphasis on the India business. The last 1 month, Nifty is up 3% and Maruti is down 6%. Interesting moves there. Morgan Stanley and PB Fintech is an interesting note. They stay overweight with the target price of 620. No changes there, but essentially they are saying that two major overhangs have been resolved in the span of 5 days. The second one, the first one everybody knows. The second one, they say that IRDAI clarified yesterday on media speculations that products on Bima Sugam, which is the government entity, would be cheaper than other web aggregators. And since the insurance companies would decide the pricing, presumably Bima, they would not price it at a huge discount on Bima Sugam as compared to other aggregators, Red, PB Fintech. And therefore, that's a net positive for PB Fintech as well. And that's why I think they are staying overweight with the target price of 620. By the way, they also have a note on Zomato, wherein they are saying that Amazon's exit speaks about the kind of barriers that are in from the food delivery business, speaks about the kind of barriers that exist in this space, and they are positive on Zomato. Their target price is, I believe, 92. So that's the other very interesting piece that came out. Now, what else? Wow, there's a large downgrade that is coming on Lotus Labs. Uh, Kotak is downgraded Lotus with a fair value of 350. That is big. The current market price is 450. Let's see. Maybe Lotus Labs could be one that could get impacted in the session today. So do watch out for that one. There is a CLSA upgrade on Paytm, by the way. They are asking whether it's worth a look now. So do watch out for Paytm. Their price target is 650, which is an upside of about 40 odd percent. So if you believe CLSA, maybe you might feel that that's a stock worth betting on as well. Now, just before we wrap up very quickly, did I miss anything in terms of news flow? Let me just try and help you. By the way, watch out. Commodity prices have come off. Cotton prices are down some 30% in the last 4 to 6 weeks. So do watch out for that. Yeah, government Concord is important. Government may hold a meeting today on Concord divestment. So that is really large. Do watch out for that. Jeffries has a buy call on Dalmia Bharat, a target price of 260. So do watch out for that as well. And commodity prices coming off might well be a reason for that as well. And of course, Shriram Transport is going X today. So do watch out for that as well. So those are a few things that everybody needs to watch out for. Thanks so much for tuning in today to the trade setup. Have a safe day ahead. And if you're wondering what to do post the markets hitting new highs, well, we will talk to Gautam Shah of Goldilocks. That'll be a very interesting conversation. And we talk about what fund managers are doing in terms of their portfolios and the churn. So that's the conversation all this week, today, and starting today for the next 4 days. So today, Trideep Bhattacharya of Edelweiss will join in to talk about what is the kind of churn that they have done in their portfolios and why is it that they have done so. Entire conversation only on the churn that mutual funds are doing in their portfolios. You may want to tune in for that as well. Stay safe. Have a great Tuesday.